The Keth drifted through the outer edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull catching the distant light of the star the primitives had once called Sun. Commander Zalthex flexed his forearms nervously as the ship's sensors began their deep scan of the third planet. "Status report," he clicked in the melodic language of the hegemony. "Approaching the world-designated Terra 3, his navigator Yildara responded. "Initial scans show, Commander, this cannot be correct." Zalthex moved to the sensor station with fluid grace. 500,000 years ago, his people had visited this small blue world during their great expansion across the galaxy. They had cataloged the primitive bipedal species dwelling there, barely evolved beyond using crude stone tools, huddling around fires for warmth. The hegemony had deemed them unworthy of contact and moved on to more promising civilizations. Now, returning to establish a fuel depot in this forgotten system, they expected to find either an extinct species or perhaps one that had managed to develop basic agriculture. The readings made no sense. "Run the scan again," Zalthex ordered, his mandibles clicking with concern. The results were identical. The planet pulsed with energy signatures unlike anything in their databases. Massive structures orbited the world, not crude satellites, but elegant constructions that seemed to bend space itself. The surface glowed with networks of light that spanned entire continents. "Commander," Yildara's voice trembled. "There are artificial constructs throughout the system. Something is approaching our position." On the viewing screen, two figures materialized, not through transporter technology, but simply stepping through what appeared to be folded space itself. A male and female of the species they had once dismissed, though something was fundamentally different about them. The female, tall with flowing dark hair, wore garments that seemed to shift and shimmer with contained energy. The male beside her radiated a quiet intensity, his eyes holding depths that suggested knowledge accumulated over eons. "Welcome back," the woman said, her words somehow reaching them despite the vacuum of space. "I am Liza, and this is James. We've been expecting you." Zalthex felt his three hearts skip in unison. The primitive language his species had recorded 500,000 years ago should have evolved beyond recognition. Yet somehow, impossibly, he understood every word. You remember us?" he managed. James smiled, and in that expression lay the weight of civilizations. Of course, the tall beings with crystalline technology, who visited in what you would calculate as 498,647 years ago. You observed us for 6 of your days and deemed us cognitively insufficient for advancement. The precision of the date sent chills through Zalthex's exoskeleton. How could they possibly know such specifics about an encounter from nearly 500,000 years ago? "We've been busy since then," Liza continued, gesturing toward the transformed solar system. "Would you like to see what we've accomplished?" Without waiting for an answer, she waved her hand. Suddenly, Zalthex found himself standing on what appeared to be solid ground, though sensors indicated they were still in space. James and Liza stood before him, and somehow his crew was there too, all looking bewildered but unharmed. "Your first question is undoubtedly how," James said. "The answer is that we learned. You see, after your visit, we realized we weren't alone in the universe. That realization changed everything." Liza picked up the explanation seamlessly. "We began to evolve, not just biologically, but consciously. We pushed beyond the limitations of matter, beyond the constraints of linear time. We spread through dimensions you haven't discovered yet." The space around them shifted, showing vast cities that existed simultaneously in multiple realities, humans working alongside energy beings that defied description, technologies that made the hegemony's greatest achievements seem like children's toys. "We mapped every star in the galaxy," James continued. "We found your hegemony, of course, 12,000 member species spanning 47 galaxy sectors. Impressive, by conventional standards. But you never truly evolved," Liza added. "Sadly. You conquered through superior technology, but you never learned to transcend your basic nature. You remained bound by the same hierarchies, The same limited thinking that has defined your species for millions of years. Zalthex realized with growing horror that these beings, these humans, spoke of his mighty civilization as one might discuss a quaint historical curiosity. "What do you want from us?" he whispered. "Want?" James laughed, the sound containing harmonics that resonated through dimensions. "We don't want anything from you. We're simply returning what you gave us." "A lesson," Liza explained. "You showed us that we were small, insignificant, beneath notice. That gift motivated us to become something you could never imagine. So thank you." The scene around them dissolved, and Zalthex found himself back on his ship. His crew stood frozen, their minds clearly overwhelmed by what they had experienced. "You're free to go," came Liza's voice from everywhere and nowhere. "But understand this, Earth is now protected. This entire system is under our care. Any aggressive action will be met with responses you cannot comprehend." As the Kethmoran limped away from the Sol system, its engines mysteriously functioning at barely 10% capacity, Zalthex stared at the reports flooding his screens. Every major hegemony world was receiving the same message simultaneously. A simple greeting from Earth, along with detailed schematics for technologies that would revolutionize galactic civilization. The message was clear. Humanity had not just evolved beyond their former captors. They had transcended the very concept of conquest itself. They offered knowledge freely, protected the innocent, and treated even their former dismissers with mercy. And that, Zalthex realized with a shudder, was the most terrifying thing of all. The species they had once deemed cognitively insufficient had become gods, benevolent gods who remembered every slight, every kindness, and chose forgiveness over revenge. As Earth faded behind them, Zalthex understood that the galaxy had just discovered what true power looked like, and it wore a human face.